Welcome back here on the Thunder Reports. And today, got a special guest coming to us from Loveland, Colorado, Ryan Holt, the voice of the Bakersfield Condors. Ryan, how are you today?
I'm great, Jason. How's everything?
Things are good. How's everything going there with Bakersfield? Why don't you give us a little update how the team's doing?
Yeah, second place in the Pacific Division, 15-4-1 in our last 20 games. So the team's been playing excellent hockey, especially as of late. But it's been a fun team to watch, and looking forward to getting some fans back in the building on Saturday for the first time, because I've mentioned it all year that our fans have kind of been robbed, I guess, of being able to see a pretty good team this year. It's an exciting team. It's a team in the top five, both in goals for and against in the American Hockey League. So they do it both ways, and thankfully we're going to be able to get some fans in for the rest of the season. So they'll be able to see this team down the stretch, and it's a fun team to watch, and it's been a pleasure to call their games.
Has that been weird for you and the team to be a part of with no fans in the building?
Yeah, it's a little awkward. At our place, it's not as bad because it's a regular building. We're playing in our home building in Bakersfield. Some of the road buildings, we're playing at team practice facilities, which are nice practice facilities in San Jose and in Ontario and in Irvine, California, but they're still practice facilities. So you get into a shootout or you get into overtime and you're calling games on the bleachers, and it's you're the only one talking, and you kind of have to just tune that out, I guess, and just realize that, there's people on the other end of the microphone, if you will. So it's a little strange from my end, but not certainly not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Ryan Holt joining us. You guys got off to a little bit of a slow start. What do you think changed? How did the script flip for you guys?
Yeah, it was the first five games. The team started 0-5 this year, but I think they liked the way they had played. In those five games, I think three of the five games they had leads going into the third period, or at least in the third period, and they were in all the games in the opening five, and the puck just wasn't bouncing their way. So they stuck with it, and then went on a 9-game run, and as I mentioned, 15-4-1 in the last 20. So it's a balanced team. It's a really deep team, and early on there were some guys who in the American Hockey League, they've been a point per game for the last 5-6 seasons and didn't have a point in the opening five. So you kind of figured that the average would turn around, and that certainly has. Adam Cracknell, Seth Griffith, they've been over a point a game in their last 20 games. So you add in that plus the three big prospect line with Benson, Marody, and McLeod, and then you add in some guys from college, and it's been a really deep, and it's a team that frustrates other teams right now, and you see that night in and night out.
Last night, you guys got a nice victory, and Stuart Skinner has been solid for you guys. Can you discuss, what his development's been like?
Yeah, and I mean, you guys saw him in Wichita, and that was a big part of his development, and you see that a lot with goaltenders and needing a little time to develop. And Stu's always been a confident player by nature, but that confidence has come with inconsistency at times, and we've seen that the last two seasons, both in the ECHL and the American Hockey League. Last year he carried the water. I think he played 45 games, I think, last year in the AHL, which was probably more than the organization expected. Shane Starrett went down with an injury, and all of a sudden it was Stu's net, and there were flashes of brilliance, but there were also moments of inconsistency, and there hasn't been inconsistency this year. The Condors know that if they score, 3 goals, they're probably going to win a hockey game. And I think that's all you can ask of a goaltender, and he's been an elite AHL goaltender this year.
How do you think that appearance in the NHL has helped his confidence?
Certainly, and I think being able to see Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen go about their business on a day-by-day basis has been beneficial for him, how they prepare themselves. He's very much like a Mike Smith, I think, in the sense of, Stu's a battler, and, even if the numbers aren't necessarily there in a game, he's going to keep you in a hockey game, and he's going to give you a chance to win, and he's going to go to, battle for you between the pipes. And, this year it's come with, a very good offensive team in front of him. But at the end of the day, he's been the team's rock for a good chunk of the season. We don't allow much in terms of shots, in terms of chances, but, Stu hasn't I can count maybe on less than one hand how many goals I've looked at and gone, man, he should have probably had that one. He's really been consistent this year.
Ryan Holt joining us, just touching base on a couple of other prospects that have been down here and are with you guys. Talk a little bit about Vinnie Desharnais. How's he been playing?
Yeah, he's talk about a guy who, if you were to do up arrows and kind of trajectories and where they're going with their career, I think he's taken the greatest incline, of any Condor this season. Coming into this year, he was a guy last year who was a seventh defenseman. He was a player who, was in and out of the lineup, who was just fighting to be in the AHL. This year he came in, he knew he was going to be in the American Hockey League. He was able to know that from the get-go, so I think it gave him a quiet confidence, and he put in the work this offseason. He's a big, talented, defenseman just from his own physical size, but he's really learning the pro game, and I think he has a bright future in this organization. And I think he's taken the biggest leap forward from year over year of any Condor, on the roster.
Ryan Holt joining us. Obviously, this season a little bit different. We haven't seen a ton of transactions between the two teams. Have you noticed the development a little bit quicker with some of the prospects that you guys have?
Yeah, it's interesting. We have kind of our own, and I'll use the quote unquote a taxi squad here in Bakersfield, just because, we don't know if players are going to be out of the lineup, in the lineup on a day by day basis. And, we haven't had the same thing up in Edmonton. This year we've had one player go to Edmonton, and usually we have one player a day go to Edmonton. So, it's been a little different. I think I would say that it's allowed the team to, have a little more cohesiveness this year. There's no more real flux in the lineup. Like, I don't have to go down and wonder who's going to be in the lineup every night. It's kind of, wash, rinse, and repeat, aside from maybe, this week there's a 4 and 5, which we've never had in the American Hockey League. So, there might be some lineup changes just from depth and bodies and getting some guys some rest. But other than that, aside from weathering some injuries, it's been the same lineup the entire year, which has been nice to see. So I think it's been good for a number of guys to be around the American Hockey League. I would say that I think it would be more beneficial to have a normal year where they're able to play games. You saw that with Osep Safin last year, and being able to play, 35, 40 games in the ECHL. I think that would be more beneficial. Players want to play regardless of where it is. So, I think a couple of guys have been caught in limbo, and that's unfortunate. But, at the end of the day, that's kind of the world we're in right now, and, the nature of the business.
Speaking of Safin, he started to find the back of the net for you guys. How's his progression been?
Yeah, he had a week there where he had 4 goals, I think, in 5 games. And, he was kind of on the wing with Cracknell and Griffith. And now Raphael Lavoie's come in and kind of earned that spot as well, too. And, second round draft pick, and a guy who is going to have a bright future in the NHL. So, for Safin, he's been in and out of the lineup. It's about finding that 200-foot game. And, for Jay Woodcroft and for this coaching staff and for this team, if you're not being responsible at both ends of the ice, you're not going to play. It starts with Brad Malone, our captain, and it trickles all the way down to the 15th forward. The easiest way into the lineup and the easiest way to play is to make sure you're responsible defensively in your own end, because that's what we're built on, and that's what this team relies upon. They always say they can teach offense, you can learn offense, but it's defensive side of the game that you have to be, diligent about, and that's how we kind of build things. So we go into every game trying to win it 2-1. Now, granted, we have a very good offensive team this year, but at the end of the day, we're very good defensively, which is kind of the hallmark of this team. So he'll be a guy who, fights for ice time the rest of the year, and tries to get himself in the lineup. I'd envision we see him at some point this week, just because of, some travel and 4 and 5 and getting some guys some rest. So, when he's in there, he'll need to take advantage of the opportunity.
Last question for you. When you look at the roster, can you project anybody that you think or has a good opportunity maybe to make it up to Edmonton anytime soon?
Yeah, it's interesting just because of the, the quarantine and the restrictions going back and forth from Bakersfield to Edmonton. I think we probably would have seen, McLeod, Benson, Marody, or some combination of the 3 called up by now. That being said, the guys knew that going into this season. So, I think it's really given them a shot in the arm of, hey, let me prove something. Let me, show what I can do here and know that, this is the situation and I'm just going to make the best of it. And those three have really had a good chemistry this year. So some combination of those three, I think are, going to make the NHL, whether it's the end of this year or next year, they're going to make life difficult, and I think that's all you can ask of players is to make life difficult. And whether that's guys coming from the ECHL to the AHL or AHL to the NHL, it's, not make life easy, kind of force your way into a lineup and stay there. And, I think, one thing about this year is Benson's played on the penalty kill predominantly. McLeod's always been a penalty killer, but when you get to the next level, that's kind of your role, and you're going to be kind of in a bottom six role, and you're going to have to find ways to impact the game with 8 minutes of ice time. And how do you do that? You do it on the penalty kill. And McLeod has 2 shorthanded goals this year, and he doesn't have a power play point. So it's an interesting year. Those three are kind of on the doorstep. One way or the other, they're going to find their way with an opportunity. And then you're kind of seeing the next wave of forwards starting to come in the organization here at the end of this season and into next year.
Well, thanks so much. Good luck tonight against the Colorado Eagles, a team we're extremely familiar with, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Yeah, a little different on the ranch without, 5289 in the building. So a little different atmosphere. We don't mind it. But yeah, thanks for the time and good luck the rest of the way.
Sounds good. That's Ryan Holt. We'll talk to you again soon. Until then, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks.